Hi dear students, welcome to La Excellence Daily News Analysis. Today, let's see the article of 11th October 2020. The first article is about strengthening the public health capacities in the time of disasters. So, focus on these two keywords, that is one, public health capacities, that is during the time of disasters. So, this article is written in the context of COVID-19. So, as we could see in the initial phases of COVID-19, it exposed the vulnerabilities of our public health systems, and it also showed what is our knee-jerk or reactive approach that we follow to handle our health system. At the same time, it demonstrated the drawbacks in the private sector with respect to the healthcare. So, moving further, this article also gives an opinion that we should go for a disaster related legislation which gives an emphasis towards the public health management. So, let's see into the deeper aspects of the article. So, in 2005, we came up with Disaster Management Act, which gave an institutional framework for managing disasters across the country. So it has a mandate of having a preparedness, prevention, and the response to the disasters. But by and large, what we could see during the time of COVID is the reactive measures or the ad hoc measures that we took up to handle the or mitigate the disaster. Along with that, it also exposed the gaps that is particularly present in the medical preparedness for disasters. So what are we trying to say here? With respect to Disaster Management Act of 2005, the emphasis for medical preparedness at the time of disasters is not being given, so or it is underemphasized. So in such a scenario, when public health is not at all given preparedness or prioritized, then it is a private player whom we rely on. But in Indian context, as it was exposed during the time of COVID, their overcharging nature or the commercialization or the weaker regulation what currently government has, or the poor organizational ability of the private sectors, and the poor insurance penetration in India. Because of all these things, so we could not overly rely on the private sector. So then in such a scenario, what would be the India's responsibility? We have to go for a systematic scheme for prevention, mitigation, and responding to the disaster with medical preparedness. So that's where, when we cannot rely on the private players, it's a responsibility to strengthen the public health capacities during the time of disasters. So how do we strengthen this? So capacity building at the medical healthcare system. Along with that, we shall also go for a legal mandate to strengthen the public health capacities by amending the disaster legislation so that we can ensure capacity building, thereby strengthening the preparedness for disasters. So moving further, author also suggests that as in case of a Western countries where there is a strong integration of primary healthcare system, because they can ensure a community engagements, they can also provide the disease surveillance and also supply the essential healthcare requirements for the people at the ready. So that's where the integration of this primary care with the disaster management can ensure a better and a stronger medical preparedness. And it's also evident that in the Western countries how it has synergized the efforts. In India also, we can utilize the National Health Mission, through which we can synergize the community efforts for medical preparedness. So if we have to summarize this article, we have understood how in the Disaster Management Act, the medical preparedness is underemphasized. Second thing, we could understand the problems that the current private sector is placing. Third, it is a requirement of strengthening the public healthcare system. Fourth, it is by amending the Disaster Management Act, so we can go for a proper capacity building in the public healthcare facilities. So that's where the last part is, we are going for an integration of the primary healthcare system strongly with the Disaster Management Act so that we can have a proper medical preparedness to handle the disasters. Let's move on to the next article, providing quick psychological support. So in this article, as we recently observed World Mental Health Day, and as the number of mental health illness is increasing in India as well as the world, so we are focusing on the mental health care of the children. As we are all well aware, because of the shutdown of the schools, the children are the one who are most restricted. So they have been experiencing a kind of loneliness, depression, and anxiety during this pandemic. As pointed out by the UNICEF report, which has made a survey of 104 countries, that there is an urgent requirement to focus on the mental health and the psychological well-being of the children across the world. So, for this, as we know, in India, the public healthcare system is not well developed. In such a scenario, having a well developed mental healthcare services is next to impossible. in such a scenario, what is the alternative that we can look for? It is going for a community volunteers. So we can learn some an example of Odisha model. So what is this Odisha model? When there was a super cyclone in Odisha during 1999 and also during the severe cyclonic storm in 2019, on these occasions, UNICEF, NIMANS and NGO Bharat Gyan Vigyan Samiti, they started giving a psychological interventions for the children. What they did in this, so they encourage the students to participate in the various activities like painting, music, storytelling, dancing, etc. So through this, they wanted to boost the morale of the students, so reduce the social isolation that they were going through. Along with that, they also improved the counseling methodology for them so that they could share their emotions and they could come out of their depressions. Now in the context of the COVID-19, as we have a shortage of medical health professionals, especially the mental health professionals, in such a scenario we can learn from the western countries and the experiences of countries like Zimbabwe, Canada, New Zealand, where the community volunteers trained particularly for mental health care services have excelled. So the same thing can be followed in India so that we can reduce the mental health burden of the children, as well as we can also ensure the health burden on the medical professionals can be reduced. Let's move on to the next article, the road bumps. So here we're speaking about 15th Finance Commission recommendation, which will be applicable till 2025-26. So at the time when there is a critical relationship or critical standoff between the center and the state government, this finance commission report has come up. So as we know, the center has failed to compensate the GST dues to the state government, even though they have come up with a solution as of now, but still there are many apprehensions from the state government. So this can hamper the fiscal relationship between the center and the state government. So what are the apprehensions that the state government is currently going through? So the first one is with respect to GST compensation. Second thing is with respect to the idea of the central government, which was a mandate for the commission to consider. The first one is with respect to the non-lapsable fund for the defense and the security spending. Second thing, it's with respect to incentivizing the states or releasing the funds based on the reform measures accepted by the state government. And the third apprehension is that the southern states are very apprehensive or worried because they are considering the population of 2000 level rather than 1971. So will the southern states will be penalized for reducing the population? So therefore the government has to address the concerns of the state government and ensure that the state governments and the central governments work together to ensure there is a double engine growth in India at the context of COVID-19 and followed by slowdown which we are facing through. Let's move on to the next article, employment finally an election issue. So several myths persist about the job creation, which has misguided the policy making till today. So what are we trying to say in this article is this, that finally with Tejasvi Yadav bringing joblessness as an issue in the election, so finally joblessness or employment has become an important electoral mandate in the time of the Bihar Assembly elections. So even though this article is of more of a political context, only one thing this article will be useful is to burst the myths related to the jobless growth. So you can use this in particularly poverty and unemployment or poverty and employment in your GS paper 3 section. So moving further, the government from beginning has always denied the fact that unemployment is a problem. So in that case, it has also not released national sample survey on employment until the week before the elections. So this shows that government doesn't want unemployment or joblessness as to be a mandate for electoral discussions and the debates. So however, we have some of the myths and realities that we have to understand in this article. So the first myth is 7% of the total employment is created by the government. So yet that is most promising is what we observe. See, in India we have 465 million jobs, out of which 260 million jobs is non-agriculture jobs. Okay, so out of them only 34 million jobs are from the government sector. So now it's that one, we have to fill the vacancies in the currently government sector. Second option for us is to go for private sector, which is the one which is creating the job. As we know, the role of government with respect to job creation is limited. We have to emphasize on the private players. And formulating a suitable policy should ensure that the private players are appropriately facilitated and they will also bring in the employment or labor intensive activities. So this is the first point. Second thing, government emphasized that through self-employment we can create more jobs or more employment. With a recent report of Labor Department, it's been found out that self-employment generating programs of the government has not yielded results, because in 2005 we had around 81 million employing through the self-employment mode. Now it is drastically reduced to 49 million. So from 81 million to 49 million is a decrease in the number of people opting for self-employment. That's where even the yojanas like Mudra has failed to yield the results. So, in such a scenario, government has to emphasize on the MSMEs or the micro enterprises who are the potential job creators. So, this is what is important aspects that you have to understand from this article. Let's move on to the next article, that is dose of optimism. So, what is the current optimism that we can expect? It is nothing but a vaccine to the COVID-19. So, as we know that many companies are coming up with the vaccines, India, what is its preparedness with respect to handling distribution of the vaccine? So, India necessarily doesn't have the infrastructure or the cold chain infrastructure that is required for storing and dispersing these new vaccines. So, that's where Indian government has to work on improvising the cold storage infrastructure in India. Let's move on to the next article. PM seeks respect for territorial integrity. As we are all well aware, 20th Summit of Shanghai Cooperation Organization has been held virtually. So in this context, India has bid for a permanent membership in the United Nations Security Council. It has asked for the change of the global governance. Along with that, we are also expecting the support of Shanghai Cooperation Organization in multilateralism, that is, responding to the needs of the 21st century.